Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Just got a lazy Sunday morning, so I was just sitting watching some boxing. I went back and watched the 2 round Joshua demolition. I've got to say, you know, in terms of just an awesome display of punch power and timing and speed, I kind of watched that in awe. I mean, that display was absolutely awesome. We can talk about Ngannou was a novice and he was a UFC champion, but let's not forget he's a UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Okay, and a lot of people thought there was jeopardy in this, and there was jeopardy in this from a punch power aspect from Ngannou. But I got when I done the fight the post fight reaction. It was the day after. I'd only seen it once, and I got the knockdowns a little bit mixed up. But the first knockdown, he landed the punch in it, and the punch connected right on the very full extension of the punch. So the three knockdowns are very different. So the first knockdown, he caught him right on the full extension of the punch, which you'll argue that's where all the power is, at the full extension. The second knockdown for me was the most impressive because Ngannou moved in with a jab and stepped in with a jab, and Joshua's timing for this was, and again, we can go back and say this was, well, he's a UFC champion, he's a novice, but regardless, this could have been anyone. As Ngannou stepped in with a jab, Joshua held his feet, and he held his feet, so he didn't move back, and he didn't step in, he didn't need to. As Ngannou stepped in with a punch, Joshua held his feet, and because his timing was that good, his timing was absolutely impeccable. I've gone back and watched it 3 or 4 times just a minute ago, and the technical ability and skill involved with that was something special. The way in which he let Ngannou step in with his jab and Joshua held his feet. Now, this shot landed kind of only halfway through the travel of the shot. But because Ngannou was moving in with a shot, in a sense, Joshua walked him onto that. And that knockdown was absolutely, if you could talk about technical precision, skill and timing, Joshua showed it all there. It's absolutely, I can't throw enough superlatives at the technical nous showed in that shot and the technical way he put that shot together. And then the last one, he literally just walked up to Ngannou, knowing Ngannou was still scrambled from that knockdown, knowing that from what he'd learned from the previous sort of round and a half and the first 2 knockdowns, he knew that Ngannou was just not good enough to read what he was going to do. And Joshua just walked up, threw that shot, and absolutely slept him. And the way that Ngannou's leg bent back and he fell back onto the leg, it was, and again, I reiterate the point, this was, a novice UFC heavyweight champion, so a novice to boxing, but the way he dispatched him was just nothing short of awesome. It was just a spectacle and a display of all-out, absolute, concussive, just obliterating power, and that's what he did. He obliterated him. I know people will say, he was a novice and blah, 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 but it was said in commentary that Ngannou had showed a granite chin in the UFC. Well, listen, this ain't the UFC, and that ain't anyone that he's faced before. Regardless of what people like to say about Joshua. Now, I've always been a supporter of Joshua. I've always rated him very highly. When everyone wanted to sort of shit on Joshua, especially the Fury fans, I always stood firm in that, yeah, Joshua had things to learn and he was still evolving to the point of where he is now. But Joshua's special. I don't care what you're saying. I don't care whether this was Ngannou, whether it was anyone, whoever this was. Joshua's a special talent. People talk about him getting schooled against Ngannou now. Sorry, against Usyk now. He lost the first Usyk fight widely, granted, yes. And Usyk was the better technician, and Joshua made the mistake of trying to prove to everyone he was a better boxer than what he was given credit for. And at the time, Usyk was just levels above in pure boxing ability at that point. But certainly the second fight, schooled for me now. Joshua wasn't schooled in the first. So I had Joshua level or a round up after 9 in the second Usyk fight. And it was only the fact that Usyk clearly went through the gears in 10, 11, 12 and ran out a clear winner. But, schooled, not for me, not in the second one. But Joshua's quality, absolute quality. And he showed the gulf between an elite heavyweight champion and an elite UFC heavyweight champion. And this is when people say, "Oh yeah, but put him in the octagon, it would be over in seconds." Probably so, but the difference is with that is boxers are not calling to go into the cage, not seriously. You know, Fury says it, and I know what's her name, the American girl. You know, I rate her as pound for pound best female fighter, other than Katie Taylor. Her name escapes me. I think she's had 3 UFC fights now, but essentially, no. Boxers don't seriously say, "I want to go into the cage and I'm gonna compete," because boxers don't do any of the other stuff UFC fighters do. They don't grapple. They don't do jiu-jitsu. They don't do Muay Thai. Oh, Dylan White's done a bit of Muay Thai, but you know the skills don't pass over. They don't do them. The difference is in the UFC, and Ngannou was known for it famously. Ngannou was famous for his striking. That's what made him successful in the UFC. So in UFC, they train boxing. They train striking. Boxers don't train any other element of the UFC in boxing, do they? Or MMA in boxing. So that's the difference, A. And so when we talk about the crossovers, there's a level playing field to a degree because UFC fighters do train striking. They do train boxing. A lot of people said to me after McGregor fought Floyd. Now, I said before that anyone who thinks McGregor stands a chance against Floyd Mayweather has a distinct lack of understanding of these two sports. McGregor had absolutely no chance. And when people level the argument that, oh, but he landed more shots on Floyd than anyone else did in boxing, I'm going to educate you as to why that is. And a lot of people don't understand this. If you know what you're looking at, the way Floyd approached Mayweather was the way Floyd approached McGregor was almost an insult to McGregor. And what I mean by that is this. He walked down McGregor with a pretty much square-on stance, and the amount of lead right hands that Floyd threw on McGregor is almost a piss take. Floyd would never approach, and never did approach, an elite-level boxing match with the same disdain that he did McGregor. And what I mean by that is exactly that. He walked McGregor down, square on, and threw repeated lead right hands. To throw that many lead right hands against a top-level opponent is insulting because it insinuates you're not good enough to deal with it and I'm going to land them. But anyway, just a quick video. Just awesome display. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I'll see you all soon.